There's a little bit of tension in the scriptures between the idea that we should keep ourselves separate from the world and the idea that we invite all to come into Christ. Now, these two impulses don't automatically cancel each other out, but they sometimes do come into conflict because we don't want to spend our time in bad places, but we also want to recruit people from those bad places to come into good places and make sacred covenants with the Savior. We could boil a lot of these questions down to just one simple one. Is the church inclusive or is the church exclusive? There are some people that accuse us of being a little snobbish, a little clannish, of kind of keeping to our own. And yet at the same time, on every single church building that we meet in, it says, visitors welcome. And we invite all to come unto Christ. And we send missionaries to literally try and drag people to the church so that they can come and partake of the blessings that we enjoy too. In Nauvoo, these tensions are in play, and they're built into the very foundations of the city as Joseph Smith and the saints first arrived there. But first, maybe a little bit of background about Nauvoo. Nauvoo is maybe the place where Joseph Smith is able to most fully carry out the vision that God reveals to him about what a heavenly city should be like. Near the end of his life, Joseph Smith is going to gaze on Nauvoo and say, this is the loveliest place and the best people under the heavens. He loves Nauvoo. And section 124 of the Doctrine and Covenants, which is the first section received in Nauvoo, is sort of a blueprint for how we're supposed to build the city. They were worried that part of the reason why they were persecuted in Missouri was because maybe they were a little bit too clannish, a little bit too on their own. But they were also worried about leaving the world behind and keeping themselves sanctified. So in section 124, the Savior gives them instructions on how to set up the city. He tells them to write a proclamation to the world to explain why Latter-day Saints do what they do. That's inclusive. He tells them to build a temple. Not surprisingly, temples are exclusive in some ways. Not everybody can come to a temple. They have to qualify and receive the ordinances. But in the Nauvoo temple, for the first time, they're going to practice ordinances like baptism for the dead and endowments and sealings and all those wonderful things that we enjoy. What sometimes gets overlooked in section 124 is that there is a second house besides the temple that they're supposed to build as well. And this is an inclusive structure. Down by the river in Nauvoo, there is a place that they're supposed to build called the Nauvoo house. And the Savior gives the following instructions in verse 23. It shall be a house for boarding, a house that strangers may come from afar to lodge therein. Therefore let it be a good house, worthy of all acceptation, that the weary traveler may find health and safety while he shall contemplate the word of the Lord and the cornerstone I've appointed for Zion. So up on the bluff, you're going to have this beautiful, majestic temple that only those that have qualified for can enter into. That's an exclusive structure, a place where you can go to flee the world. But down by the river, you're going to build a house worthy of acceptation where all people can come and see and behold the goodness of the saints. As Nauvoo develops, these two places will become kind of the poles that Nauvoo is built upon. Just as much effort goes into building the Nauvoo house, this inclusive structure on the banks of the river, as there does that goes into building the Nauvoo temple itself. And the two together represent the saints' vision where they're escaping the world, but they're inviting everybody that's willing to come along with them, even if they only stay for a little while to see who we are and what we can do. Over the course of their time in Nauvoo, these two buildings continue to be constructed. And just so you know a little bit about how important the Nauvoo house was, Joseph Smith takes the original manuscript of the Book of Mormon and places it in the cornerstone of the Nauvoo house. The church sells stock certificates to try and help people raise funds to build the Nauvoo house. And when the church finally has to leave Nauvoo and ends up in Salt Lake City as its new headquarters, they do the same thing. They build a temple, and then they build a house of inclusion, which becomes the Hotel Utah, later the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, later visitor centers and all kinds of facilities where people can come and learn about the saints and know a little bit about who and what they are and what they teach. Each one of these houses is important and teaches an important principle. You'll find on the outside of the Nauvoo temple a beautiful array of symbols that represent the growing complexity of the saints' beliefs. There's moonstones and sunstones and starstones on the temple to show how it mirrors the church as it's described in the book of Revelation, but also to invite people to come into the temple and learn the mysteries of the universe. In Nauvoo, for a really, really long time, if you had gone there, say prior to the year 2000 or so, you would have just seen an empty field with the outlines of where a temple once stood. Today, once again in Nauvoo, a beautiful and majestic temple rises up on the bluff. And it's not just a pretty monument to what the saints built in Nauvoo. It's a living, functioning temple that anyone can enter into. And if they've qualified and become worthy, receive the ordinances of the gospel. You see, we sometimes talk about the temple like it is an exclusionary house, but it's really not. It's inclusionary in the sense that any person can choose to qualify for those ordinances and then enter into the house of the Lord and enter into this great relationship with the Savior. In this sense, the house of Israel is the royal family of the earth, but it's a royal family that just about anybody can join as long as they're willing to qualify for the blessings and enter into these sacred covenants. In Nauvoo today, the temple stands, but the Nauvoo house is still unfinished. Partially finished a little bit later on by Emma Smith's second husband, Louis Biderman, the Riverside Mansion stands in Nauvoo as a testament to what the saints are trying to accomplish. And maybe in some ways, by not rebuilding the Nauvoo house, we've invited the saints to everywhere, in every place, invite people to come unto him, to come and learn that the saints are good, and then find out if they want to be a saint as well. And if they want to be a saint, to ascend the hill up to where the temple is, to enter into the temple, to enter into covenants, and finally, to enter into the presence of the Lord.
you.